With awareness comes a space for us to integrate all the learnings and insights into the growth stage. And we call this competency number 8, facilitates clients' growth. And it facilitates clients' growth. It's about partnering the client to transform learning insights into actioning or into actions and promotes clients' autonomy in the coaching process. So you notice this keyword here, autonomy in the coaching process. So which means it's not forced upon the client, but it's in supporting the client, promoting the sense of autonomy for the client to go deeper. Too often, many times, a lot of coaches or clients, they want to rush into that space, but not realizing that, hey, it's not about rush space. It's about taking time, having that autonomy to go deeper, taking time to explore and to promote the client autonomy. Autonomy means the client's commitment, willingness to move in the direction that they want to take. The key change here, there's a new introduction of subcompetency 8.7 where it says partner with client to integrate learnings and sustain progress throughout the coaching engagement. So sustain progress, I like this idea. It's not just taking action. It's not just what's your next step, right? So a lot of times people think that coaching is so straightforward, just what's the next step? No. I need to hear how this progress can be sustained throughout the engagement. Because oftentimes when we enter the conversation, the client may get excited on the first session. They say, yes, I'm getting ready. I'm going to do this. Let's go and do this. After the first session, they come back, they get tired, they get exhausted. They're not sustainable. So sustained progress is more important than, just peak progress for one session. I'd rather the client just continue at a steady state rather than, oh, I need this progress, I need to do this. Sustained progress is more important throughout the whole engagement than just rushed progress. Now, there's also a slight enhancement on the subcompetency 8.8. It used to say celebrates the client's progress and successes, and now it says acknowledges the client's progress and successes. So this idea of acknowledges has now been introduced. So in the past, it's celebrating. So a lot of people think that, hey, you know what, a celebration? Why am I celebrating? And I understand that from different cultural perspectives, celebration sounds a little bit iffy. It sounds a little bit, when am I celebrating? But I think the word acknowledgement finds that right balance. It's acknowledging the client's progress, journey, evolving realization, growth in that whole coaching conversation, or from session to session, what has happened to them, and acknowledging them. So it's not just for celebration. In fact, because I myself am an assessor for many of the coaching coaching recordings that I'm hearing across ACC, PCC, MCC levels, and I often hear artificial celebration. The coach would say something like, oh, I'm so happy for you. And it sounds almost disjointed in the conversation space. It sounds very foreign to the client because suddenly the coach is using a different language and different style of language. And sometimes simple, effective acknowledgement is more powerful than an overly curated, packaged celebration, right? So to me, I think having that acknowledgement is more important than just packaging some celebration. Okay. Now, everyday application, convert that awareness into tangible actions. How do we translate that? And in fact, this is something I teach in my class called Insights Actioning, something that you will learn as well when you join some of my programs that I offer. And I think one of the more important things is that from the sense of accountability, commitment, willingness, autonomy, this is something for us to understand deeply. It's not just how you're going to account yourself, but what is the commitment level? What is that intrinsic, extrinsic drive that's going to support the client? Acknowledging the progress, and how do we close? How do we end? How do we conclude that session with clarity, respect, honor, and set up for the next session? When done well, it's coach-driven goals. It doesn't impose on the coach-driven goals, right? So this is something to think about as well. In fact, this is not coach-driven goals; it should be client-driven goals. Okay, so when done well in this whole process, you'll find that it's rather than the coach is imposing their own goals, the client is getting the clarity. The client is the one initiating the goals. The client is initiating the outcome, and that's something more important. So client-initiated goals, not coach-initiated goals. And in fact, this is something also very important for us to take note of. When we are in that space of facilitating clients' learning and growth, it's also to realize that how do I bring honor to, kind of map this whole thing for the client so that We don't rush the actions. We don't skip the awareness building. So too often, many times, many coaches just jump into the actioning. Are we taking time to explore? Are we taking time to connect what the client is learning about themselves and the situation into the actioning? And sometimes I've heard many recordings where the closure is just so fast, the end, close, and move on, right? So are we taking time to learn how to close? How we close, in fact, it's more important than how we start, because the client's going to forget everything you said in the start of the conversation, but they're going to remember how you partner with them and how you bring amazing closure, making them feel excited for and looking forward to the next sections. So to me, competency 8, it's not just facilitating learning and growth, but we need to spend more time on how do we close the session well. Have you watched movies, or have you been to concerts or events or learnings or education where after the session itself you feel very excited because you feel so alive? You feel say, hey, you know what? I feel that, yeah, I can do it, and enjoy that. That closure, it's more beautiful than trying to say bye bye to the client. Closure, it's not about just ending with a bye, thank you. Closure, it's about intentional setup for the client to take that very first minute step to make big changes. And in fact, this whole process, I'm going to share a little bit more in our upcoming video series where I'm going to deep dive into each one of the sub competencies in greater detail. So there you have all the 8 core competencies from the start of competency 1 to 8, where I give you a quick snapshot of what it feels like and look like. I want to invite you to my sessions where I'm going to teach you from ACC, PCC, MCC, and beyond what it means to integrate these competencies in your own coaching practice, in your team's organization, whether you're doing systemic coaching, team level coaching, individual coaching, for life coaching, leadership coaching, executive coaching. How are you going to use all these competencies in a way to help your client to co-create a space that is more effective and deepen coaching mastery.